Howdy, and welcome to the MrMaple Show. Today, we're going to take you through the maples of the Biltmore Estate. We took our good friend Nakada-san, who was visiting us from Japan last fall. Get excited.
Guys, I'm Matt, and that's my brother Tim. We make up MrMaple.com. We put out 7 days a week of content here on the MrMaple Show. Now, when we were on Nippo Nikki Tai, it was a Japanese TV show. We got to go to Japan and study Japanese maples on that show. And we met Mr. Nakada-san, who's one of our good friends in Japan. He took us to see so many great things. Not only his amazing nursery, but we got to go see the national treasure of Japan, which is Nakakomoto weeping. So we had to take him to see some of the oldest Japanese maples in our area, and a lot of those are located at the Biltmore Estate.
Yeah, the Vanderbilts were some of the early importers of bringing Japanese maples in the United States, and they did that through the father of modern landscaping, Olmsted. And Olmsted is one of the landscapers that designed Central Park, and they even copied his designs in Tokyo, Japan, and created a Central Park in Tokyo, Japan, based on his designs as well. Modern landscaping all over the world. He planted many of these Japanese maples here at the Biltmore Estate.
Yeah, a lot of these trees were planted in the late 1800s. Now, if you're getting a Japanese maple in Asheville in the 1800s, you got to think about this. These were big trees then. So a lot of these probably came over through ports like Charleston. A lot of these trees were started in other countries and then made their way here to the United States to be planted by Olmsted. So pretty cool stuff. I mean, you had to have some bucks if you were going to buy a Japanese maple. It wasn't exactly mail order back in the day. You had to get it on a port and had to put it on probably a horse and carriage and drag this thing up to Asheville. Pretty cool plants. And there's some of the biggest, oldest, especially lace leaves in the country at the Biltmore Estate.
Yeah, I remember bringing the Maple Society to the Biltmore Estate and seeing Carl Munn and Keith Johansson popping their heads out of one of those big lace leaves.
Right. There's some pictures of Peter Gregory there before too in like the late 90s. So it's a place a lot of people visit to see these maples because they are historic trees, especially for the United States. Now, they're in great health. There were a couple of years ago, this tree wasn't looking quite as good. I'm glad to see it looking great again. This tree is easily late 1800s for its origin, for at least for planting here at the Biltmore Estate. These lace leaves are some of the more iconic ones. And it's really cool to see that they're looking great. Now, this one's typically a deep maroon in the early spring. We did film this in September, so early September. So not as much color on this one right now. It will be more of a deep maroon going to a bold red in the fall, typically.
Now, many of the staff here at the Biltmore Gardens are actually customers of ours at MrMaple, and they do a good job of taking care of these ancient trees that are really just, icons when it comes to...
It's almost like heirloom trees.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're pieces of history. We've got a guy here who is the father of modern landscaping who has planted Japanese maples. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just a piece of history, and it just continues to grow and be beautiful, and they do a great job of going in and taking care of each and every individual tree.
I love when people tell me that they think a Japanese maple might not match the style of their home. Well, I'm like, well, it matched the Biltmore house, like a French chateau style. Like I don't know if that would match the aesthetic I'm going for. It's like, well, it matched the Biltmore house. So there's that. Those trees are really close. You can actually see the Biltmore Estate from this tree as you're standing at it, the actual home itself. But some great plants. These over time they've added dirt, so they've become more multi-stemmed too. I think the original trunk's buried there a little bit.
Yeah, and they've got those close to the house, but the garden extends further out as well. And they've got so many cool trees out and around. There's actually some really old upright Japanese maples if you walk further down in the garden.
Yeah, we got to go through some of these trails and just kind of go through and explore a little bit. Get to see some of the older Japanese maples on this trail. Many of these are Emelinum style. There's a few Palmatum style. Likely several of these are upright reds in the spring, several upright greens as well. A little bit before fall color. This actually, we filmed this about a week and a half before the hurricane, so I'm glad that Nakada-san got back home safely right before Western North Carolina got really crazy. And I do know that these trees are doing well after the hurricane as well.
Yeah, just so many beautiful older trees through here. And in the spring, the ground is loaded with seedlings. Mm-hmm. I know I went around in the spring and tried to go around and look around at all the unique seedlings popping up from the trees that Olmsted planted. Yeah,
we did a video where we walked around Chihuly. We walked around some of the greenhouses there at the Biltmore Estate, so you can kind of see some of the tropical plants that are going on there. If you like that kind of thing, definitely check that video out. I was more in line with getting there to see the maple. So this was really the point of taking them, as we could go see some of these trees. There's some really large bases to some of these older ones. This one we're getting ready to look at is a little bit more multi-stemmed as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's just got such great structure. You look at that. This tree is over 100 years old. I mean, it's crazy to think about all these Japanese maples, so beautiful, in the garden for over 100 years. You know that the staff's been doing a really good job of taking care of these.
Great structures. And I mean, a little bit more basic here in some of the maples. I mean, there wasn't as much crazy stuff in the United States around the late 1800s. I think our selection's gotten a little bit better, but pretty cool to have red uprights, red greens, and some of the lace leaves that were growing.
And you look at these trees, the age, these trees are so beautiful, even being a little more basic. Here we have Acer Grisham, the paperbark maple.
Yeah, this is actually one of the rarest trees in the wild from China. So you'll find Acer Grisham in the Chinese forest. They're pretty rare. Like, it's not one you see natively, but it has become a plant that's very popular around the continent as it's more and more used commercially.
Now, this is a large, older Acer amenum that Nakada-san wants to go look at and see the structure and the buttress roots.
Yeah, I mean, you've pretty much got a natural bonsai here for a Japanese maple. You got to love that. That structure is phenomenal, especially when you get some size to them like this. Just an absolute, mass of a plant. And those roots, people worry about cutting roots and air. Look at this tree. This tree is over 150 years old at this point, and it's not strangled itself at all.
And you just see it's got these unique ways where the multi-stems just grow together and create such a unique work of art in the garden.
So my audio cut out here, so I'll tell you, I love this garden. I love getting around the Biltmore Estate and the older trees. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share here on the MrMaple Show, and we really appreciate you tuning in today.
Take care.
God bless.
And have a wonderful, awesome day.